StoneX has released its latest quarterly outlook, highlighting the key trends shaping global markets. The cocoa market continues to be one of the most fascinating and unpredictable commodity stories of 2025. After a year of record high prices and persistent volatility, questions remain about the balance between global supply and demand and the situation in West Africa. What all of this means for prices going into 2026? Well, to help us unpack the latest developments and share his outlook for the months ahead, we're joined today by Lucca Bezzon, StoneX Brazil Market Intelligence Analyst. Thank you for joining us, Lucca.
Hello, Fiona. It is a pleasure to be here. Speaking a bit about cocoa, as you've already anticipated and as most of our viewers already may know, cocoa has been going through a very particular time in history. Since the 22-23 harvest, we've been having deficits on the relationship between supply and demand. So since that time, prices have been continuously and gradually getting higher until the moment that you spoke about, the end of the year of 2023, which was when the prices really exploded. The main factor driving this bullish movement was the break of the harvest in the West African countries. It is good to remind that Ghana and Ivory Coast are responsible for nearly 60% of all cocoa that is produced around the world. So when the news hit that the 23-24 harvest was going to be not as good as people anticipated, the prices really exploded, and they continue to be on a very high level, historically high level, because the stocks haven't recovered yet. We've had a bit of a recovery on the 24-25 harvest, mainly because of a slowdown in demand and because of a better development on secondary country crops. And Ghana, Ivory Coast has not yet recovered to the normal levels, but the 24-25 harvest has recovered a bit, and the 25-26, which is the one we've just entered on 1st October, there's a pretty good chance that we're gonna have a higher yield for the harvest. We're gonna have a surplus.
And how is the production outlook shaping up for the 25-26 season, particularly in West Africa?
Great. Particularly in West Africa, as I've mentioned earlier, it is good to note that whether there is a very important factor on whether investors and market participants believe they're going to have a good harvest. And it is the main factor that contributed to the previous harvest being not as good as they used to be. And that's why people really are looking forward to seeing how the weather is going to shape up in the next months. The main period for rains are between April and July of this year, and that's when investors and market participants really were worried about a bad weather report, and it was relatively good. So for at least the first few months of the harvest, we're expecting a recovery on these countries. But between July and at least until September of this year, rains have been sparse and irregular, and that's a bearish, bullish factor that's impacting prices. So we expect a bit of a recovery, but there's still a worrying point on these countries particularly.
And beyond West Africa, which producing countries are helping to offset the global supply deficit?
Since the rise of prices, especially in 2024, some secondary countries, some secondary producing countries, especially Ecuador, Indonesia, Brazil, Nigeria, and Cameroon, they have been putting special focus on cocoa producing. And we know that cocoa is very sensitive to management practices, fertilizers, pesticides. So we expect a slight increase in these countries. Ecuador is one that is really doing well. They are really getting close to Ghana, which is the second most producing country. But we expect this next few harvests to have an increase in these countries, especially because of management. We know that new cocoa trees they take uh, 3 to 5 years to have new cocoa pods, and that's why we don't expect a very hard increase right now. But management practices may at least marginally increase the production in these countries.
And turning to demand, we've seen a decline in grindings in Europe, Asia, and North America. What does that tell us about the consumption side of the market?
On the demand side, we have had some doubts about when it was gonna start reflecting the higher prices. But on the last quarter, the second quarter of 2025, we've had the grinding data for Europe, Asia, and North America, and they showed the first structural sign of uh, of what we could see as a decline in demand. It's still not 100% known if this deceleration in grindings was because of the lack of cocoa pods or because of really a slowdown in demand. It's probably a correlation of both, but we're looking forward to seeing the next grinding data because it's the best proxy we have on global demand.
And given all these moving parts, uncertain supply, fragile demand, and volatile prices, what's your overall outlook for the cocoa market heading into 2026?
Well, looking on the cocoa futures, we see that the market has had a slightly optimistic outlook for the new harvest, especially because of the factors we've already discussed about a probability of a better crop in the African countries, secondary crops that secondary countries that may uh, uh, have a better outlook, and the demand showing the first signs of a structural slowdown. These are factors that contribute to the slowdown in prices as well. But there's still some important uh, bullish factors, especially the uh, low level of stocks and the uncertainties regarding the main producing countries, particularly Ivory Coast and Ghana. So we have a very divided outlook, and it's a very important time of the harvest, October, and we're looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next.
So, the next few months will be decisive in setting the tone for 2026. Thanks very much for your time, Lucca.
Thank you, Fiona, for sure.
For deeper insights and analysis, scan the QR code or click the link in the description to download the Quarterly Commodities Outlook.